I believe that there's a few coins that actually have done some cool stuff, like Bitcoin, Ethereum. I don't know, that's probably the global two, right? And then you have a bunch of other like cool like apps like, your Uniswaps, GMX, some of these things that have done cool primitives based on Ethereum. And then you have 99.9999% dog shit. But the dog shit's really, really fun to trade. Like, I love trading dog shit. And you can make a lot of money trading dog shit.
You been good?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're back?
I'm back.
Get some time with you?
Yeah, for sure.
So what are you working on? What are you doing these days?
I am working on my fund. So Maelstrom, which is basically a glorified family office. There's a guy, Akshat, who's running around the world doing deals. You do early stage stuff. We're super interested in like infrastructure, made a bunch of plays and sort of ETH staking stuff so far, taking a hard look at ordinals and how that market's going to play out, and just having a lot of fun investing in projects that are going to bring the whole space forward. And we want to make a fuck ton of money in the same period of time. Like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah. And like, where do you sit in the whole Bitcoin versus crypto? Because we read your newsletter.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out, are you a Bitcoiner who makes money from crypto, or like, do you believe in the whole thing?
I believe that there's a few coins that actually have done some cool stuff, like Bitcoin, Ethereum. I don't know, that's probably the global two, right? And then you have a bunch of other like cool like apps like, your Uniswaps, GMX, some of these things that have done cool primitives based on Ethereum. And then you have 99.9999% dog shit. But the dog shit's really, really fun to trade. Like, I love trading dog shit. And you can make a lot of money trading dog shit.
All right,
but it's like a test bed. If people are experimenting with things, some of it's a complete joke, some of it's completely serious. But that's the whole point, is that we're just letting people like have imaginations about how a financial, social, political system can be created purely on the internet. And so that's why I love it. And it's so much fun. And the people are so out there, and it's just passionate about what they do. And that's why I love doing this.
Man, should we be trading shitcoins?
Absolutely.
We should be trading shitcoins. Every time I trade shitcoins, I lose money. I gave up.
But you have fun doing it, right?
Arthur's the one selling you the shitcoin.
I buy these fucking bags. No, I don't have fun when I'm losing. I had fun in 17 when we went up. That was fun, but yeah. So what do you make of like, because this is a Bitcoin show, we're just Bitcoiners, we're very serious. What do you make of that side of it? Like, do you consider Bitcoin like a serious asset though?
I think it's a serious asset. It's a serious experiment.
Okay.
We're experimenting. We created together. Obviously, we all didn't create the white paper, or maybe you did. I don't know. Maybe Satoshi. Maybe. But we're having this experiment. Can we create a hard form of money by this consensus mechanism and these economic games that we're playing over the internet? So far, I think it's been successful, right? It's worth however many hundreds of billions of dollars of value. I always look at things in energy terms. Take a look at Bitcoin divided by the oil price. Bitcoin is worth more barrels of oil over time. Take a look at 20-year U.S. Treasury divided by the oil price, and the Treasury represents less barrels of oil over time. So I think we're being successful at doing what we should do. The currency should maintain purchasing power in energy. All right, so I definitely think it's a serious thing. It solves a serious problem for people. Whether or not it's over the long term going to be successful, I don't know, but that's up to us, really.
Huh. I've never heard anyone say that before.
No, I've not. In terms of pricing things against oil constantly.
Yeah. Is that something you do across other assets?
Yes, it's more of a mental construct. So I think about like our lives, right? We're sitting in this air-conditioned room in this nice house and, drinking these beers, and like every single thing, speaking on these microphones is basically somebody, as a company, a government, whoever, individuals came together, they found some potential energy in the earth, and they converted rocks and stuff into these useful products that give us enjoyment. And so then everything is a derivative of how much energy it costs to produce it. And so if you want to think about how you're going to save over time your wealth, you want to, either have a constant standard of living if you really like, how your life is today, or you want to have an increasing standard of living. And all that's a function of energy and how much it costs to maintain that lifestyle. And so if I want to think about my portfolio, I want to make sure that the assets that I own, if I'm thinking about saving, are going to maintain purchasing power and energy. And right now that's hydrocarbons over time. And if they don't, then I need to think about, why do I own them? Maybe it's because I have to be in this particular jurisdiction and I have to hold this currency. Or it's like, I've just been thinking about it the wrong way and thinking about, okay, the price has gone up in dollar, euro, yuan, JPY terms. Not like, okay, have I maintained the same purchasing power of oil? Can I actually afford the same amount of energy in my lifestyle that I could yesterday with the money that I made from my job? And so that's what I think about my portfolio.
And what kind of time frames are you looking at? Because these things fluctuate.
I think it's a personal thing, right? So my goal is, okay, I like the way I'm living. I want to keep living this way until I die. So how do I make sure that I optimize for that, right? So other people say, well, I'm in a short-term trade. Like maybe I got to buy a house next year, or there's something that they have to do. And so that's their time frame, right? So everyone has their own personalized time frame. There is no one-fits-all investment strategy or like this, global vision of how you should manage your money, right? It's a personalized thing.
I think it's all just about having fun for you, right?
I love having fun. That's what life is about, right?
That's what you maintain it. So we wanted to talk to you. And how do you think it'll play out?
In terms of?
Like what's going to happen now in terms of like Sam and then in future exchanges? Because it looks like the sad side of it is we were having a good year. Like times were good and then everything blew up. Like Luna, they blew up. Yeah. We're now in a situation where there's a massive regulatory lens on everything that happens in this industry. So do you think this is one of the examples going to use to kind of like clamp down on us all? Or do you not even worry about that?
I think that this was a validation of decentralization. The companies that failed and the people that were at the helm of these companies were all centralized things, right?
Yeah.
Arrows, Celsius, Genesis, all those people, FTX, right? It's all centralized things. What do? They took a bunch of money, they levered it, and they bought shitcoins. Or they took a bunch of money, they levered it, and then they lent it to other idiot traders, right? And that's how they lost all their money and blew up their businesses. Okay, yeah, the crypto market cap went down because of that, because a lot of that, these things were inflated higher, but Uniswap still worked, Ethereum still worked, Bitcoin still worked. The quality projects that actually built real things worked perfectly fine. And we literally lost, 60% of value in like 3 months? Think of that happen in like the S&P. Imagine the S&P one day opened and it was down, 50% because JP Morgan went bankrupt or something like that, right? Like some institution you would have thought would never have failed has now declared bankruptcy. Nobody gets their money. Markets are going crazy, right? Does the Western financial system still work? Absolutely fucking not, right? But our system worked. No bailouts. Everybody took their humble pie, took their medicine. Some people lost a lot of money. It's unfortunate. But at the end of the day, the market kept ticking. And that's what we're here.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, look, I guess it was like a kick in the teeth for a lot of people. And it's really sad. Like a lot of people lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
That is sucks. But I guess you're right. I mean, Bitcoin still produces another block every 10 minutes. We keep going. We learn our lessons from it. But I do kind of still worry about like the future exchanges. That's like our onboarding, our offboarding. It's like there's a lot of pressure on them now. And I just think it like really didn't help. But maybe, I don't know, do you worry about regulation coming in on these exchanges? Do you worry about what will happen to the likes of Coinbase? They've been flirting with this idea of maybe not being here in the US.
I mean, I think Coinbase will be fine.
Yeah.
Everything's a cycle, right? There's oh no, Bitcoin in XYZ jurisdiction is getting challenged. Everyone moves over here, right? And then there's people are in this country for a while. They don't know, they don't like us, so we're gonna move back over here, right? It's just go around in this circle. And then hopefully over time, the amount of people who've heard about crypto increases. Because at the end of the day, we're an attention game. It doesn't matter what the price is, it needs to move. We need people to either just make a decision. We don't care if you don't like it or like it, but at least have the cognizant decision making. I don't like Bitcoin because of whatever. I like Bitcoin because of whatever. We don't want to be ignored. Being ignored is the worst form of anything. That means that nothing will progress.
Yeah, I can't remember who said it. Like the worst thing about being talked about is not being talked about.
Yeah. If you're thinking about that currency that needs to have a network to be valuable, if nobody's heard about it, you're worthless. So even if there's, all these bad things happening, if just people know what Bitcoin is, and then maybe something in their life happens and they change it. Maybe you're a Russian oligarch and you thought you were super wealthy. And then all of a sudden, because you got rugged because, some dude that you have no affiliation with launched a war. And you're like, oh, I understand now. I thought I owned that asset, but I'm just a renter. And the landlord said, no mas. and I no longer have my boat, my fancy apartment, my house, my bank account. I get what these Bitcoin guys are talking about.
So essentially, it's the same for him then as the people who held their money on FTX and got rugged. It's just any chance of getting rugged, you need to be looking at something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we've got a nickname for you. We call you Arthur Damas.
Arthur Damas.
Yeah, we call you Arthur Damas. So we're fucking idiots though, because we read your newsletter. We're like, look what Arthur says. Arthur says this is going to happen. So I'm not sure. I'm not going to do it, and then it happens. So we've got this. We think you've got this ability, like Neo in the Matrix. We see the code. You see what's going to happen. How do you always know what's going to happen? Like, how come you can read the market so well?
I mean, I get a lot of things wrong. Like, I try to look at like longer term trends, and then my whole thing is just like take things to their logical conclusion, and like try to empathize with the people who are making these decisions. Like all this banking stuff that's happening in the U.S. and other markets. Like, put yourselves in the shoes of a politician, right? You want to get reelected. What do you need to do to get reelected? Give out free shit, right? Free shit costs money. What do you do when you can't afford stuff? Print it, right? It's just standard. And if you study enough history, you see that nothing that's happening today with how, the ruling empires of the world are debasing their currencies, it's all happened before. It's slightly different and the circumstances might, be a bit different, but this is the play that we've been running over and over and over and over again. And so if you read enough history, like, okay, I can see what they're doing. I see the motivations. I can see how this ends. And thankfully, now we have something like Bitcoin and this whole ecosystem where we can actually take our money out of that system and say, okay, yes, this is risky. It's volatile. It's whatever. But I'm solving for this risk that happens in every single large, civilization over time. And maybe I'm going to be better off for taking this decision.
So your main thesis is like everyone's going to print everywhere.
Yes. I don't care if you're democracy, fascism, communism, every single large nation state has the same construct of their banking system to a large degree. Everybody has the same problem. US has too much debt, China has too much debt, Japan has too much debt, Europe has too much debt. Every major country has, we've decided that we want to have less kids because we like living in cities and doing whatever. We don't live on farms, right? And so you have less people working. So if you have less humans consuming things, but you piled on a bunch of debt in the last 50 years, there's just not enough people to pay for it. And so what do? You print the difference. Or you could say, yes, some strong politician could stand up and say, you know what, everybody? I'm sorry, but your uncles and your fathers, they fucked you. Took out all this debt. And unfortunately, they had a good time, but now we're going to have to make some changes. And that Social Security, you're not getting that. That free college education, sorry, can't afford that anymore. That's not the message that gets you reelected.
They're never going to do that.
Never.
They tried that in the UK. We went through this austerity period in the UK that the Conservatives tried it for about 2 years and everyone hated them. Everyone fucking hated them. But the flip side, we had who was the Labour guy?
Corbyn?
Yeah, he tried to offer loads of shit for free and nobody believed him. You can push it too far.
For sure.
No one believed him because he was saying, I'm going to give you this for free and that for free and this for free. And he still didn't get elected. So you push it too far. But like if you're studying history and you're saying this has all happened before, doesn't now feel particularly bad? Like one of the worst situations?
Yeah, I mean, if 5,000 years of interest rate history, we've had, it was at the peak in 2021, it was like $18 trillion US of negatively yielding debt. That's like, means you've inverted time, right? It's like, what? So you're telling me these economist motherfuckers figured out a way to like invert time and we're going to like go against the natural order of things and physics doesn't apply. Okay, sure. So it's just obvious what's going to happen on a long enough time frame, right? The short-term market moves can catch you off guard, and if you're using too much leverage, your position sizing is wrong, then yes, you're going to have to be staring at your phone, babysitting your Bitcoin, and making sure that you're reading the tea leaves correctly. But taking a longer-term, higher-level view, I think the path is clear. Now, whether or not Bitcoin or some of these other cryptos perform in that scenario is yet to be seen. However, the end game, we know what's going to happen.
Which is? Exactly.
Print money.
But do you think they print to the point of being unsustainable and collapse?
I would say probably.
Okay. Because
there's nothing, because we had a 2008 crisis, right?
Mhm.
What was that?
850 billion.
Or whatever, however many, and then trillions left, after that, right? Has anyone learned any lessons? COVID hits. What happens? Governments print a bunch of money. The central banks buy it. Fed being the most egregious of all of them in terms of like money printing. And now they've exacerbated the problem that they all know they have. It's not like these guys are dumb, right? It's very smart people. They've talked about in many papers. We know that we have this problem in the future. If we print all this money, how do we take it out of the system without it causing, bad effects? Now they think they're gonna, super smart and they can figure it out and they're gonna have enough time to do it. So it's like a lot of people who know they have a problem. They know they got to fix it eventually, but they think they're so smart that they can time the market, and the market's not going to inflict pain on them. And the market's going to only act in a very linear fashion. It's not going to throw a curveball like, all the regional banks failing, or, something else. Like somebody starts a war somewhere and price of oil goes up, right? And now you have energy inflation, which completely screws up everything, right? So there's a lot of people who know they have a problem, but they think they're smart enough to solve it.